This episode of the Infos Podcast is brought to you by CBS All Access. Looking for a new streaming service to add so you can watch more stuff? Check out CBS All Access. Hit up infospodcast.com/CBS and you can get a free 1-week trial to CBS All Access and check out things like Star Trek Discovery, Picard, Survivor, all the other cool stuff that CBS has to offer. Star Trek Discovery, I said that already. You should really watch that. So hit up infospodcast.com/CBS to learn more. Hey, welcome back to the Infos Podcast. This is episode 236, One Amell to rule them all. I'm Brian. With me, as always, is Daryl. What's going on, Daryl?
What's up? You should have said that. You should have had that evil laugh after you said that.
Or should I do my Joker? You've heard my Joker laugh, right?
No, I have not.
Oh, I don't want to blow everybody's ears out. It's loud. I drive Angel and Haley nuts with it all the time. Haley thinks that's my actual laugh.
Or just do the Emperor's laugh.
Yeah, no. I don't do that one so well. I do, yeah. Anyway, real quick before we get started, make sure you guys check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/infospodcast. Thanks to our Infomite level Patreon, Julian Brown. Check out his podcast, Everything is Permitted. It's pretty awesome. They talked about board games 2 weeks ago, which I found really interesting because I'm not a huge board game guy. And then they did their Clone Wars coverage this past week. So
that would be interesting. Yeah.
It's a good one.
I haven't played a board game since I was, high school maybe?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Okay, I'm going to pitch another show here real quick. When you're done listening to us, go check out the board game episode of Everything is Permitted. But they were talking about this game with trains and like a Sherlock Holmes type game and a game called Secret Hitler. And it all sounds very interesting. None of my friends play board games, but if I would have been on that episode and they're like, what's your favorite board game? I'm like, I don't know, Candyland? Shoots and ladders?
What, nothing like Settlers of Catan?
I like Catan. I used to play Catan a lot, and, I just collected wool. So I didn't care about wood or anything else. I was just like, just give me wool. I just want to be warm in my tiny civilization. I probably would have said like Cones of Dunshire, just because Angel and Haley always accuse me of being Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec. And I'm like, that's not fair. All right, so we have some news bites to talk about. We are talking Upload, the new Amazon Prime series starring the superior Amell. And we are talking a really belated late review of Code 8, again starring the superior Amell and his cousin.
Funny thing about Code 8, when it actually came to purchase, when you could buy it at the tail end of last year, I actually did do a review of it.
Yeah, for science fiction.
Sci-fi.
But we're going to talk about it. I mean, you and I both bought it that first week that it came out. Mm-hmm. I think I've watched it, counting watching it, Tuesday? I think that was my 6th viewing of it. I know it's a problematic movie at times, but I really enjoy it. So we'll get to that.
This was my 3rd or 4th time watching it.
I like just throwing it on, to be honest. It's just it's kind of like Deadpool for me at this point. Like, I just kind of like to throw it on and have it on in the background where I can pay attention at the high points and kind of ignore it the rest of the time, or, just sit there and zone out for a little bit and take a break and turn my brain off and just enjoy some super powery goodness. But yeah, anyway. All right. So the first story, movie theaters are going to start opening again soon. And on July 1st, the first film back will be Unhinged, the Russell Crowe road rage thriller. I'm going to be honest, I had not heard about this movie until I read this episode. And I am going to also be honest, I didn't bother going to look up what this movie was because I have zero interest in a movie about road rage.
Yeah, I actually watched the trailer. And did you ever see the movie, this Michael Douglas movie, Falling Down?
I love Falling Down. I love Falling Down. It is a seminal movie of my high school experience with my friends.
Yeah, that I still remember that movie. The image of him with his short sleeve white shirt, glasses and briefcase kind of, and then just goes crazy.
The quintessential NASA engineer look.
Yeah, pretty much. And this is kind of like a mixture of that and Duel.
Okay.
Again, another old one.
Did you ever watch Changing Lanes with Ben Affleck and Samuel L. Jackson?
I think I watched the first half of that. I don't remember how it ended. But
that's a really good road rage movie. But yeah, so anyway, so it's coming out. It's hitting theaters July 1st. It says here it moved. It was supposed to originally be September 4th.
September?
And then it moved right into the 4th of July weekend here as movie theaters are opening back up. So I don't know, man. This is really interesting. Different states are going to open in different ways.
Right.
You know, I'm in Ohio. You're in Kentucky. I have no idea what Kentucky's doing. Ohio's slowly rolling things out. And, you know, people are... I had to run to Target to get the kid some shampoo and stuff today. And there were definitely way more people out than I've seen in the past. And there's way more cars on the road, which is making me sad. But, you know...
Yeah, Kentucky is probably a few weeks behind. Certain things are opening up, but some of the things I'm looking forward to, it's not like June is going to be where it's kind of almost that second phase, I guess.
Yeah.
But California, I don't even know if theaters are going to open up, and like California and New York. So, but yeah, to your point, and again, this is a movie I probably wouldn't go see in the theater.
No,
just because it's just that type of movie. Like, hey, it's a Friday. I don't have anything to do.
I might watch this on like HBO Max or something in a year when it hits that. But I don't know. Like, I watched Cold Pursuit. Did you watch that one yet? The Liam Neeson.
Haven't watched that yet.
So it feels like it's a Steven Seagal movie that's just starring Liam Neeson at this point because Steven Seagal went old and crazy. But yeah, I mean, this is not one that I have a lot of interest in. So. All right, so moving on, Mandalorian news. Season 2, we got what's his name? The guy who is Jango Fett, who is
Tamir
Miller.
How do you pronounce it?
I don't know how to pronounce his name. Anyway, so he is coming back to the Mandalorian, and everyone's suggesting he's going to play Boba Fett, but I think he's going to play Rex because Ahsoka.
Well, wasn't it confirmed that Boba Fett was going to show up?
I don't think it was actually confirmed, and people have been thinking it was Boba Fett since the Gunslinger episode where someone showed up with spurs. I'm going to say right now, I am a staunch Boba Fett hater, and
yeah, you are.
Boba Fett, the Mandalorian does not need to go to the Boba Fett well in season 2.
You know, I think it would make more sense that it would be Rex for the you know again
with the Ahsoka
Katie Sackhoff coming.
So yeah, that was the other thing. So we have Bo-Katan played by Katie freaking Sackhoff, which is amazing. She's the voice of Bo-Katan in both the Clone Wars and Rebels. So she's joining the cast as well. Keep in mind, they are finished shooting this. This show is in the can. It is in post-production. It is coming out later this year on schedule. It is not missing a beat.
Which I love.
So
that's something to look forward to this fall.
Absolutely. Something once we get past Coronacation and, you know, we have good stuff back in our lives. But yeah, I'm super excited to have Katie Sackhoff coming back. And the fact that they modeled the character after her looks, 10 years ago. And I think she's sexier now than she was then. And she was always been super sexy. And, she's an action star. She does action so well. And she's a badass.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Just kind of hopefully. Well, I know what Bo-Katan, how she talks, but I was about to say, let's just curb that the British accent, please.
Yeah, we don't need any of that from the Flash. But we're gonna see what happened to Black Saber. So I'm assuming she's gonna be flashbacks, right?
Right.
Because Moff Gideon shows up with the Darksaber, and the last time we saw the Darksaber was Sabine handing it to Bo-Katan to, unite the clans and go after Edward the Longshanks in England. So,
but yeah, I think there's a lot of potential for that to be a flashback, or I wouldn't say potential, but I would think it could. I don't know. I'll just say this: I trust Filoni to whatever they do. I'm trusting him to do it right. If it's a flashback, fine. If it's something where they're bringing these characters into this world, hey, that's fine.
I mean, Favs and Filoni have this. That's
right.
the way I look at it. Favs and Filoni lead the way. So
and as far as
this is the
Tamira Morrison,
yeah, thank you, Morrison.
That's his name. I'd rather him play Rex than Boba Fett, and right. I'm not a Boba Fett hater. I used to love him when I was a kid, even though he did really nothing. He actually had more action in the Robot Chicken shorts than he did in the.
I mean, he's essentially a less jabbery Jar Jar Binks, the way he messes up on the battlefield and everything.
Yeah, he's kind of a glorified red shirt if you think about it.
He got by some blind jabroni from Corellia.
So, I mean, especially because I have just finished Rebels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the end of Clone Wars. I would love for it to be Rex.
Yeah. I just finished Resistance. I finally went back and finished Resistance, by the way.
I never watched that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. It's Star Wars. I was desperate to watch something new from Star Wars.
Have you watched the documentary yet?
I haven't. I'm waiting. I'm gonna wait until probably this Friday, so tomorrow. And I'm gonna just kind of binge 3 in a row.
Okay. Because I haven't watched.
Because I heard the second one is fantastic, and I've been watching The Last Dance, which we should definitely talk about that at some point, on ESPN. So.
Oh, okay.
But moving on, Newsarama put out a really helpful article today, actually, about the full comic book television release schedule for the foreseeable future. And I don't know if you got a chance to look at it.
Yeah, I actually have it pulled up right now, and I'm kind of like going through it.
So currently airing, is things like Legends and Black Lightning, The Flash. It says Watchmen season 1, but that one's finished already. But coming back later this year is Walking Dead World Beyond. I hadn't even heard of that.
Yeah, I don't even know what that one is.
We've got The Boys season 2, WandaVision, Pennyworth, Titan season 3. I'm sorry, Pennyworth season 2. The Walking Dead in season 11. What else? Oh, Falcon and Winter Soldier season 1. But I don't see Umbrella Academy until like way late on the list in development. And or is it even in here? No, they don't even have Umbrella Academy on here that I see.
Yeah, they have it in development season 2.
So, but season 2 is like supposedly ready to come out. If you follow the creators on Twitter and anything like that, I mean, it seems like it's imminent, and like Netflix desperately needs that superhero shot in the arm to get back out. But yeah, we've got a Young Justice season 4 coming to DC Universe. Now, my question about that one is, I got the email the other day that our HBO Now is getting moved to HBO Max, for on whatever May 27th.
So what does that mean? Is it just is it totally new app?
No, I mean it's all going to be I think there is at some point we'll probably have to switch to the Max app, but it's all going to be on the Now app right now, for the time being. Okay. Or maybe they do it. They have Why the Last Man as in development. I still will believe it when I see it that show becomes a thing.
Yeah, didn't they have to kind of go back to the drawing board or something a couple months ago?
I don't know. I kind of gave up on following it. So yeah, they have Lock and Key in here, season 2 in development, which I'm okay if that doesn't come back. Snowpiercer season 2 is already in development, which is interesting because that premieres this week. Hawkeye, Snowpiercer. I said Snowpiercer. Oh, here's Umbrella Academy season 2. There we go.
Yeah.
MODOK, the MODOK series for Hulu, which sounded interesting, and then what was it? They had Moon Knight for Disney Plus, which I feel like that should be a Hulu show, in development. Yeah. But in production right now, we've got Young Justice, season 3 of Big Hero 6, season 3 of DuckTales, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, something called Woke, and then I'm not watching anything called Woke. And then One Piece.
So is this One
for
Piece?
Netflix.
Is that going to be?
I can't tell if it's animated or live action. I couldn't tell. Yeah. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff. I mean, apparently Batwoman season 2 is coming back for a season 2. I didn't realize that got picked up. There's a Ghost in the Shell coming out for Netflix this year.
That just came out a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Winona Earp season 4, which I understand that's a pretty decent show. So yeah, and then we've got Snowpiercer, Stargirl, Agents of Shield hits in a couple weeks. Snowpiercer and Supergirl hit in the next
This
week.
weekend.
And then Doom Patrol season 2 will be on DC Universe and HBO Max on June 25th, which I never finished season 1. So if they move it all,
I just can't do that.
If they move it all, I might watch it. But yeah, so that's pretty interesting to see kind of the plethora of announced projects. I'll be surprised if 60% of these get made.
And yeah, that makes sense. There's a lot of things that they put on the dartboard that end up crashing and burn. Even sometimes they'll film a pilot and the pilot just crashes and burns.
Yeah.
Other times it just doesn't even get that far.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, because there's a lot of things on here that I have no idea with, and I just have to tell you, MODOK. If you ever played the Marvel versus Capcom games, the original like Marvel Capcom 2, I just keep hearing his voice when he talks about if you think I've evolved beyond the joys of murder, you'd be wrong.
Yeah, right. They have sex criminals. I don't know if you read that comic from Chuck Zdarsky and from Image. It's about people who when they have sex, they can stop time and they go into another dimension and they can do crime and stuff like that. That just doesn't seem like something that would ever make a good TV show, because it's essentially you have to have porn to have superhero antics. They have Jupiter's Legacy on here, which was another great Image comic series. I don't know if I'm missing it. I didn't see it, but there's the Invincible animated series that's coming to Amazon that has been in production for a little bit with Steve Chow, Glenn from Walking Dead as Invincible, J. Jonah Jameson himself as Omni-Man. So yeah, just a lot of neat stuff. I really honestly, if 90% of this stuff gets made, we're getting more cool shit than we deserve.
Yeah. American Jesus? What the hell?
I don't know.
What's that?
All right.
Astronaut Academy? Okay, yeah, let's move on. Because there's a lot of this stuff I'll be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right. So our last news bite, I think, is the most controversial news bite, is Batman fans are angry at Robert Cedric Diggory Pattinson for not working out during Coronation.
Okay, so I'll have to say this: anytime you say we see an article and it says these fans are mad, these fans,
to be fair, fans is in quote in the title.
Yeah,
so
it could be two people,
right?
When people, I've seen examples of, well, not with this, but when people say, I get all this hate on Twitter and then somebody will screen capture the one tweet that the person's talking about. It's so this is all the hate.
Well, I will say, man baby YouTuber extraordinaire John Campea, and I'm only calling him a man baby because he calls everybody else man babies. I actually like Campea. Got extremely aggro about this on his show. Yeah, I don't care.
See,
this isn't news. I only wanted to talk about it because it's getting so much just kind of play right now, and
there are a couple things
current.
If you didn't send this to me, I wouldn't have known about it. Well, actually, no, I probably would have if I would have checked my Google stream, because a lot of times I have articles from Screen Rant. I wouldn't have read it, put it that way. And even in the first of all, the article is way too long to be talking it. This is like a 250 to 500 word max article, and this thing just kept going. Now, I'm not going to be upset because there's two reasons. One, dude could have been, he has a weird sense of humor. He could have been just joking around, and he could be doing stuff, but also, I think people may be, and one thing, I thought the article was overboard, but I also say it did make an interesting point as far as talking about Batman, and how Ben Affleck was just jacked to the gills. And this is, year 1, year 2 Batman. He's
Yeah.
not going to be like that.
But Batman was kind of also like, so Ben Affleck Batman, right, wasn't just jacked. He was kind of beefy and, just that Affleck way. I don't know if you've watched The Way Back yet, which you absolutely should. It's a fantastic movie. I mean, he's fat. He's not fat like me. Like, I'd be happy to be like at the point Ben Affleck's back. Plus, he's 6'4". But with Pattinson, right? Like, you made a great point. He's year 1 Batman, and he doesn't need to be super huge.
No.
Michael Keaton, if you look at anybody who's talking about this right now, they bring up Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton was had a dad bod when he was Batman. He was, inside of a rubber suit. All of these guys get to wear padded suits. Christian Bale wasn't a big jacked Batman. I mean, and he was maybe 6'2"? Like,
Christian Bale
if he's
in Batman
6'2"
Begins
on paper, he's 5'11".
He was about one. I think they said he got up to 190 or 200.
Yeah, but he had just done The Machinist, where he was like 105.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So but he was look at in Batman Begins, he was jacked. He wasn't Ben Affleck jacked. Don't get me wrong, but he was jacked up.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
You don't need. This is the thing. What the article was trying to say is that, that the idea that men have to be, this super duper buff, muscular and stuff. It was kind of going the opposite way of how, we talk, how sometimes articles talk about how, this ideal body that sometimes, that is looked at with females. And it was actually kind of talking about it the same way. However, my contention that is you're never going to see a superhero out of shape. You're never going to see a trailblazer like the New Mutants.
Right.
I don't even want to go into that.
Right.
But you're never going to see you're never going to, not New Mutants, but it wasn't the new, whatever the new team was. But yeah, to your point, he could be built like Tom Holland, because it's, he's going to be super athletic, or I mean, as far as a character, super athletic, agility, and he just started.
Here's the other thing you're forgetting. He's going to be in a suit covered in padding. Doesn't matter what he looks like underneath it. I mean,
yeah, it kind of does.
In his I think it was GQ article, he made a point about how all these like actors have been getting like super buff for roles with the the 9-packs, the 12-packs, lats and biceps for days and super chiseled pecs, and he's like, this is the problem, and so I kind of like, I don't disagree, but like gratuitous shots are gratuitous shots. If it's a guy, it's a girl, it's gratuitous. Like, Chris Pratt. Well, I mean, Hemsworth for sure. But Chris Pratt, like in Guardians 1, where they're shooting the orange delousing spray on him and he's all like flexed out, that's gratuitous. Alice Eve in Star Trek Into Darkness, where she is in her bra and underwear. No need for that to be in the movie. That's gratuitous.
James Bond,
all James Bond,
Casino
all
Royale.
of James Bond. Just the way James Bond has done women, like Halle Berry coming out of the ocean. Whoever did it first. But no, I know what you're talking about.
I was talking about
Daniel Craig. Yeah, I get it.
But this is the thing. The thing I have to say about this, and to your point, yes, he's going to be in a suit. However, there is, and again, I don't know, if there's going to be any gratuitous shots or whatever, what have you. My contention is when he says that's the problem. If you're playing a superhero, just look at UFC fighters, look at mixed martial artists. How many of them, especially when you're talking about from the 155 to the 185 range and 205, like when you talk about heavyweights, that's a little different.
Yeah.
Most guys, and again, they're not all jacked. I'm not saying they're jacked, but they all look pretty badass.
Yeah.
They have definition.
Right.
You don't need to have, like he's saying, you don't have to have, and these guys don't have 12 packs. I mean, some of them will do, but most of them look like you can say, okay, this guy is this guy looks like an athlete.
I think to prove your point, let's talk about Nate Diaz for a second, or Nick Diaz, either one of them, right? Neither one of them are like super ripped dudes or anything like that, but they walk in the ring and they're super athletic and they can just go. And they can go for 5 rounds, bell to bell, and never lose their breath. And, get their asses beat your ass at the same time. And yeah, so I don't think I don't know. I really don't want to talk too much more about
I
this,
think
but
it-
I
yeah,
think
this
Robert
is-
Pattinson is taking flack because of Twilight for this, because people are unsure
and
about
I said-
him as
I think-
Batman.
and that, and also there's not much news going on as far as filming either.
Right.
So
right.
people are just grabbing onto anything they can get and say, "Hey, let's talk about this."
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like to your point, it's let's move. We're moving on.
Yeah. So I mean, if you wanna see like a good Robert Pattinson role, go watch High Life. That's an excellent movie that he's
That's
in.
on my list to watch. I haven't watched that yet.
You know, he's interesting in The Lost City of Z, which I thought was a pretty horrible movie. Lighthouse is on our list to watch. Tenet is one of the new Christopher Nolan movies, is one of the, most anticipated movies.
And that'll be the 17th of July. So that'll be 2 weeks, or 2.5 weeks after Unhinged. So that'll be interesting too. But I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be fine in the role. And like you said, a lot of people are because when they think of Pattinson, they think of Twilight.
Yeah.
And he was horrible in Twilight. Everybody was horrible in Twilight. So, and that's where a lot of people, and again, people, even some of my friends, yes, I have friends, talk about, because they think about him in that.
See, I think about him as Cedric Diggory and how like he was just a jabroni that was there to die for Harry Potter.
He was a Harry Potter red shirt.
But he was in yellow. It was so weird. All right, let's move on. I want to talk about Upload. Wow. I just want to say wow. So I watched Upload, and I'm gonna do a little tangent here. And I told you I went and watched Downsizing because I thought like the idea of the movie is kind of similar. You do something to your physical form to go somewhere else. Downsizing is a failure just across the board. Like, other than Matt Damon and Christoph Waltz, who are both really likable in the movie, it is boring. It is not at all the comedy that they presented it to be. And
not at all.
Definitely not a slice of life that I really wanted to see out of this extraordinary situation for ordinary people. So, that being said, all of those feelings that I have about Downsizing, I have the opposite feelings about Upload.
Yeah.
Let me do the summary real quick. So it says, in 2033, humans are able to, quote unquote, upload themselves into a virtual afterlife of their choosing. When computer programmer Nathan dies prematurely, he is uploaded to the very expensive Lakeview, but soon finds himself under the thumb of his possessive, still living girlfriend, Ingrid. As Nathan adjusts to the pros and cons of digital heaven, he bonds with Nora, his living computer service rep, or Angel. Nora struggles with the pressures of her job, her dying father who does not want to be uploaded, and her growing feelings towards Nathan, while slowly coming to believe that Nathan was murdered. That in of itself has me hooked, right? Like that's a great synopsis of why you should watch this show.
Yeah, and I will say, when I first watched the trailer, though, I thought it was going to be just kind of like one of those silly, fun but lacking substance type shows, which it would be one of those that, hey, I had a good time, but that's about it. There was actually like a good amount of substance in this show. The idea of uploading your consciousness, and I don't remember if I mentioned this before. So I'm rereading this series, this Commonwealth series by Peter F. Hamilton. And the first book is called The Reality Dysfunction. And the idea is this is maybe 500 years in the future where, there's people have gone two ways, humanity. The atomists, who are, staunch believers in you die. I mean, they don't get this, what they call bit technology, which basically helps you. It connects people with everything.
Yeah.
And the Edenists are the ones who, they have these habitats around these asteroids that before they die, they upload their consciousness into these asteroids or into the network of this habitat. And the habitat is an AI, but their consciousness remains in there for a couple hundred years until it kind of becomes one collective. But before that, it's kind of like Upload, where you can talk to your uncle, your grandfather, your mother, your father, whatever. you can talk to their individual personalities.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of funny that this came out while I'm
Yeah, that's
rereading
funny.
it.
That is funny.
And
I mean, it's not a new idea. This is not a new concept
no, it's
by
not
any stretch of the imagination.
The way this does it, though, it does, and again, because it's closer to our time frame, it's 2033.
Yep.
It touches on some of the stuff we see in our social media life, our everyday lives.
Well,
with technology.
So this is a Greg Daniels show, right? He did The Office and he did Parks and
Right.
Rec. And did you watch Parks and Rec?
Oh yeah, love both of them.
Okay, so Parks and Rec at the end jumped from 2017 to 2020. And I kept thinking about this show as like an extension of Parks and Rec, because of some of the things that they did. But I mean, even like the way they looked at the future, like everyone is for the most part in self-driving cars, and you can set it to protect the occupant or protect pedestrians, right? And
Right.
we learn really early on that Nathan protects the pedestrians, much to Ingrid's chagrin, right?
Right.
And so we're learning he's this idealist, and we get a picture of him that, as he gets uploaded, we find may not be 100% true. But that upload scene, one, he got uploaded for a collapsed lung, and I think I told you, like, how bad is the medical system in 2033 that a collapsed lung is gonna like kill a healthy young guy? And but what was your reaction to the upload scene?
I was like, oh shit, really? Because it's funny because his mother just comes right on the opposite side of the screen, or the divider, and he's like, Mom, and really, that's how they upload? They just kind of disintegrate your head?
They disintegrate your head, and then you fall ass out into a bin of ice. So yeah, I'm curious. Do we want to go like episode by episode, or do we just want to kind of talk about this as a whole? Because
let's just talk about it as a whole. Because
I feel like this is 10 episodes. They're all about a half hour. The first episode is 43 minutes, and I'll tell you, I watched the first episode, and I enjoyed it, but my initial process, my thought process was, if every one of these episodes is nearly an hour, I don't think I'm going to be able to watch it. But luckily they're all about a half hour, which I thought was perfect because it's a comedy. And, like Mrs. Maisel is an hour-long episode, but it's comedy, drama. It is it needs an hour. This show in half-hour increments was 100% the way it should be done. And 10 episodes was the perfect amount for this show.
Right. It was similar in the episode lengths. This was actually a little bit longer than I'm Not Okay With This.
Yeah, I think there was like I'm Not Okay With This that was like 19 minutes or something crazy like that. It was like super
and there were,
short.
I think, only 7 episodes there. But yeah, I like the idea, and that's the one thing that the freedom that these streaming services give shows. You don't have to prescribe to an exact, okay, we're going to have to run 43 minutes, including commercials. We're going to have to run 22 minutes. Sometimes these shows are going to be longer. Sometimes they're going to be shorter. And as long as it's giving you the opportunity to tell the narrative in a concise way of that specific episode. And again, like you said, the first episode's 40 plus minutes. If they needed that for another episode, that was fine. But I don't think they did. To your point, I think the nuggets, which this season was cut into as far as episode wise, was pretty perfect. Just the time and everything.
It ended on pseudo cliffhangers each episode too, to keep you wanting to like stream more. I will say, so I said at the beginning we were talking about the superior Amell. This one stars Robbie Amell, who I feel is he's super underrated as an actor. 2, we both love Steven. Like, there's nothing bad about Steven Amell.
Let's just be clear. We're not making fun of Steven, because I love Steven Amell.
But I will watch anything Robbie Amell is. And I told you on the phone the other day, when the first season of Tomorrow People came out and the first season of Arrow were out at the same time, if I would have been in charge of picking one show to continue, it would have definitely been Tomorrow People.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely. If you guys haven't watched that, it's still on Netflix. It's him, it's Peyton Least,
Mark Pellegrino.
Yeah, Mark Pellegrino. Hell yeah, Mark Pellegrino's in a show. You gotta watch it, and a ton of just like great young actors, and you definitely should watch that show. But he was great in The Babysitter. He was great in The Duff. You know, he's this really super like caring, earnest guy who looks like he should be, you know, the bully. And he almost
kind of like
never
in
is.
The Babysitter.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, like The Babysitter is like I feel like The Babysitter cast the people in that and put them in the roles because it's like you're judging a book by its cover, and he's not one of these guys who you can judge by his cover. Because as we talk about Code 8, like he plays a really interesting character in that, but he plays a 27-year-old computer engineer who's trying to create a free version of the paid version that he's in, where people can create their own afterlives, which is really cool. And so the other one is Andy Allo as Nora.
Yeah, I have not seen her.
She was amazing. Like, you know, I almost think she's the main character, to be honest.
Yeah, and it does play out that way because you look at what she's going through in the real world because, you know, again, this is one of those things, and one of the things I talked about is the depth of this show, and it doesn't get too much into it. It doesn't bog it down. But when it's talking about, think about something like this, there are going to be people for religious purposes or, you know, in their belief system that don't believe in that type of quote unquote afterlife.
Right.
You know, because they'll believe that, hey, the soul, you're downloading the bits and the bytes, the ones and zeros that make up our memories, but are, there's something else.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect example. And that's what she's going through with her dad, who's dying of vape lung. I think that's what they call
vape
it.
lung. Yeah, because he did vaping instead of smoking because it was healthier. Okay, so this is her fourth like acting role essentially. So she played Serenity in Pitch Perfect 3. You know, the all female group that was. I don't know if you saw Pitch Perfect.
I never watched it. I haven't seen the third one yet.
She's in that one. It's okay. It's not great. If you've watched the first two, you should probably watch it. She plays Zoe B in one episode of Black Lightning. She was in a recurring role of Chicago Fire, and then here she's, like I said, essentially the main character. I mean, she was a musician. She was in the New Power Generation from 2009 or in 2011. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. And she released 3 albums in 2009. I mean, she's a guitarist. She's, she's a Cameroonian American. She is beautiful. Oh my God, is she beautiful?
Yeah, she is.
2, I loved her. I want to see her in more stuff.
I absolutely after the first episode, that's when if somebody impresses me in the middle of the episode, I'll IMDb them just to see what else they're in. And she did that.
Well, here's
for me.
the beauty of Amazon is they've got the Amazon X-Ray, so you can just pause it and look all that stuff up right within the phone app, the website, the streaming service app. So she is great. Allegra Edwards as Ingrid Kannerman. She was another one who was great in a completely different way. One of
the things I liked about her is when you first see her, you think she's that, the vapid, the blonde who, is self-entitled and all this stuff. And then you get that one scene with her and, so Robbie plays Nate with Nate's niece, and you see the type of family she comes from.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh God, yeah. Oh, it's a bone swallowed. It's got candy inside of it. It's like, oh my God, what is wrong with you people?
That actually made me, because at first, before that, she was all those things, trying to control him in the afterlife, or in the, what do they call the upload?
The afterlife. I mean, it's your digital
afterlife. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, controlling his spending habits, putting him in skinny jeans.
Oh, yeah. All right. So you went to the skinny jeans. Kevin Bigley as Luke is the best sidekick ever.
Yes.
When all he wants to do is cause trouble and wreak havoc. And he so desperately wants to be friends with Luke. And yeah, he was in a couple episodes of Scream Queens, but he was on a show as a series regular called Sirens about EMTs. It was a comedy, and it was really funny. And I think it's on Hulu now. If it's not on Hulu, it's on Netflix. It's on one of those two. It is definitely worth watching. Because he's like the rookie, and he's really, really funny in that show. But I loved Luke. Luke was definitely one of my favorites. And then his angel, Zainab Johnson as Alicia, or Alicia, however she was saying it.
No,
she changed it every time. She changed it every time someone said her name just to mess with people. She was fantastic as well, and she was hilarious. She had her fingers in Dick's file, which made me laugh. She's a stand-up comic. I knew her from that. I've enjoyed her stand-up for the past few years, but yeah, it was like as a main core of 5 characters who spend the majority of the time on the screen, you could not ask for more.
Yeah, the cast, they work so well together, and again, that 30-minute mark, 28 to 33-minute mark was perfect for every episode. There. And I did what I appreciated was the depth. There was a little bit more depth, and that makes it more rewatchable for me.
Well, it asked a lot of those kind of, like you said, depth. It asked a lot of those like deep questions about, what is afterlife? Like her dad brings it up a lot. Like, well, no, you're not real. You're not a soul. And he's like, but I am real. I am, there. Yeah, I think I want to call out William B. Davis as David Choke, the cigarette smoking man from X-Files. He was great. The little kid, Dylan,
my goodness,
was hilarious, especially when he grew up. And then Mildred, Ingrid's century-old grandmother who lives there, who is in black and white and may actually be a picture of her sister, not her, I thought was another fantastic little side character there.
And then the other thing when we're talking about depth, especially with Nathan's character, is that as he and Nora are getting to know each other, and she's getting to know him as this evidently a good guy, we find out, and again, it goes to the point that you can do good things, but everybody makes mistakes. I'm watching Vikings now. I'm almost caught up on season 6 right now, and Bjorn Ironside, for those who watch Vikings, his wife Grunhild tells him, you may be famous or something like that, but you're still a man. You're not perfect.
Yeah.
After something happens that one of his decisions comes to bite him in the ass. So, and with Robbie Amell's character, he finds out throughout this, as this whole investigation of whether he was murdered or not, and Nora helping him with that, he finally gets some of his memories back that he lost during the it's not during the upload, but someone erased his memories.
Yeah. And
he finds out that, because the idea that his best friend Jamie, that he had this, this freeware for the afterlife, him and his
let's not spoil that. I think that's a really interesting reveal about what happens between him and Jamie, his partner. And Jamie has a very small role in this first season, and I'm hoping in the second season. I think you guys just need to go watch this. This is a great show. It's well worth your time. 10 episodes. One of the things I really enjoyed was the 2 gigs, and how Nathan was immediately empathetic to them, and how he wanted to find ways to help them. And then when he finally became a 2 gig himself, by choice, it was he knew there was a limitation to his avatar and his consciousness, essentially, and he used it to help someone else, to his own detriment, which was really, really cool. And then the little shock at the end of the season was a great, oh, holy shit. So
and not to go into too much, but the idea that everybody makes mistakes, And that is kind of one of the things he has to realize. He ends up realizing, as the series goes on, is that you can be a good person and you can make a terrible mistake or make a terrible decision. Does that define you, or does that one mistake define you, or is it who you are as a whole? And so that was kind of like one of the deeper aspects of the show that I liked, and that was one of those things that would make me want to watch it again.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I definitely enjoyed it like the second time through, mainly because I watched it so fast the first time through. I watched it in about a day and a half, and again because it's 10 relatively short episodes that you can just bop knock it right out.
Yep. And as we're winding this down, I don't know if you saw this, but was it yesterday? The news came out that it earned a season 2 renewal.
Oh no, I did not see that. I was about to say as of when I did my show notes the other day, they hadn't. Greg Daniels says he has a longer story in mind, and it definitely ends on a cliffhanger. So I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, it was on the Amazon. No, not Amazon, but on IMDb. Oh. It shows the news.
Oh, okay.
So,
is it on the IMDb front page, or is it on the show page?
So I was looking at the show. So you know how they have
you got to take that with kind of a grain of salt. Because like people can edit, like it's kind of like Wikipedia there.
Oh no, so it's a real article. No,
okay,
it's an article. It's that's what I meant. Oh, I know what you thought I was talking. Yeah, it was.
Okay,
this is actually a real article. So
yeah, let's see.
Let's see.
So season 2, cast, plot, everything you need to know. So it looks like. I mean, they don't have a release date yet because it hasn't gone to production, and it can't go to production because of social distancing.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, cool. All right, let's real quick just kind of wrap up your overall feelings for the season, what you want to see for season 2, and maybe anything that you found, like start with this one, anything that you found like problematic that you'd like to see them kind of fix.
I think I want to see a little bit more. I thought that despite it being, this afterlife world, I thought they didn't do enough with that. I think for me, one of the things, it's funny, they had a kind of like a Minecraft type moment in there, but I want to see more about this afterlife world, and I just want to see more of that. Mm-hmm. The best aspect of this show were, as you mentioned, the principal characters. Mm-hmm. Nora and Nathan, and all the I love their chemistry. Aloe and Amell's chemistry is so good together. Well, it's such a good chemistry.
Yeah, like Robbie's chemistry with everybody is so good because he's so likable.
Yeah,
superior.
And as far as where this goes, it's going to go more into the mystery surrounding what happened to him, some of the choices some other characters make at the end of the season, and what fosters those choices, and what happens with Nora. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are the 3 big things that I'm looking forward to next season.
So Nora leaves this season in a tremendous amount of peril, which is really interesting. Yeah, so I'm like you. I want to see more fantastical stuff in the afterlife. Mm-hmm. She keeps the gag going that she presses the button that allows him to walk on water, and he falls for it every time. But I want to see like, hey, I want to fly. Let me buy this upgrade.
Right.
And like, you can buy wings or whatever and go fly with your angel. And I know that's a little on the nose and hokey, but like things like that would be interesting. I want to see more of what Jamie's doing in the real, because I think the vision of that character that we got is not who he actually is, which we find out kind of later in the season. But also, I think with Nathan being on the inside now, he'll be able to do more. And lastly, on the inside of things, I want to see Choke actually like decide to take Nate and Luke under his wing and be like, hey, I'm going to bankroll you guys because I can live for 50 million years here and never spend a quarter of what I have.
Right.
Which when he finds the million credit egg, hilarious. Just hilarious. And I want to see more of the little weird sight gags, like the peeing thing where you can't miss. Just like little things like that. Like, it's like, okay, this is kind of gross, but it's hilarious.
It reminds me of a game where in the first game you have this little, like, this province or whatever, and then the second game they triple it in size. And that's what I want to see from this, in the sense of seeing more of the afterlife. I mean, you don't need to triple in size, but like you said, the more fantastical aspect of it, because it's not grounded in reality. It's the afterlife. It's a computer program.
Yeah.
You should be able to do anything.
Matrix, right?
Yeah. Right.
Like, as long as you have the credits to buy the upgrade, you can. You make a really excellent point about it wanting to grow in size. I want it to be like Sunnydale and Buffy, right? In the first season of Buffy, it's like a one stoplight town. The Bronze is the only place to go. In the second season, there's a magic shop now all of a sudden. You get to the third season, and near the end, we learn there's a university. There's UC Sunnydale. In the fourth season, there is a gigantic underground labyrinth of man-sized tunnels that you can get around the town without daylight. It's almost as if the town were built for vampires. And it just continues to grow. There's an airport. The high school becomes this giant campus with, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I would like to see them do something similar to that. Also, one last thing I want to see a little more of is Owen Daniels, the AI guy. I want to see him turn on everybody. Like, I want an episode where they have to fight him off and like reboot, like get to like the center of the maze to reboot him. Like, he goes full on Man in Black and starts like offing people in the afterlife, but they're obviously not really dead, but like, he's killing everybody.
Well, unless he wipes the programming out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but
that could get really dark though, really quick.
It would be interesting to see him throw someone in the torrent. But yeah. So the idea of the torrent was the other thing I really enjoyed. The fact that people were drawn to it like moths to a flame to commit suicide after you're dead was, again, something very, very funny. All right. So real quick, development. The development of this was announced on September 8th, 2017. Amazon gave it a pilot order. On July 28th, 2018, it was announced that this had gone to series. A first season consisting of 10 episodes. So yeah, on May 8th it was renewed for a second season. And then casting, it was announced that Robbie Amell and Andy Allo have been cast as the pilot's male and female lead. It took place, they filmed it in British Columbia, Canada. The hotel there is an actual hotel in Monarch Mountain. It's called the Monarch Mountain House and Preserve in New Paltz, New York. And they did some shots of the hotel in the grounds and even some interior shots. So I thought that was interesting. It's got an 81% approval on Rotten Tomatoes, an average score of 6.75 out of 10 based on reviews from 34 critics. I don't know what that means. And I thought this was that was on Metacritic, my bad. And yeah, so I think it's been received well. Everything I've seen people talking about it online, I haven't seen anyone be like, oh, this is awful, I hate it.
That's good, because it's another one of those shows with, just like when was it? Sometime last year, it might have been last August when Undone came out. That was one of those surprise shows for me on Netflix or on Amazon Prime. And again, it's a totally different type of show, but it's just, I'm just loving where we're going in the streaming universe nowadays.
I think Amazon's really upped their TV game. Like, before, their original movies are what was good. You have Man in the High Castle, which it's uneven, but it's good. You have this. You have
Mrs. Maisel,
which is a powerhouse. You've got The Tick, which
The
is
Boys.
interesting. The Boys, which is fantastic.
Jack Ryan.
There's just a ton of kind of fun Amazon shows. Bosch, The Hunted, things like that. The one with Billy Bob Thornton, which is interesting, that I can't remember the title of right now. But yeah, so I think this is the way Amazon is going, and this is the way they should go. All right,
It's only and it's only we're the ones benefiting from all this.
Hell yeah.
It's going to make everybody step up their game. Like Netflix. I love Netflix just because they have such a catalog of stuff. But they're I think they've been more hit and miss, especially with their movies. They've had some awesome shows too. Don't get me wrong, but just the overall direction of streaming services bringing quality content.
Yep.
And this was just another one of those.
Like Netflix couldn't miss for the TV shows, and they were just constantly whiffing on the movies. And now, like, Netflix movies have gotten better, and the Amazon TV shows have gotten better. So it's not like they've switched sides or anything. But I think also Amazon has started to put more into Prime Video than they were. So, all right, let's talk about Code 8.
Yes.
Okay, so the summary, synopsis, whatever you want to call it for Code 8 is goes as such. Code 8 is set in the world where 4% of the population is born with varying supernatural abilities, but instead of being billionaires or superheroes, they're faced with discrimination and live in poverty, often resorting to crime. Connor Reed, Robbie Amell, a power-enabled young man, is struggling to pay for his ailing mother's health treatment. Fighting to earn enough money as a day laborer, Connor is lured into a lucrative criminal world by Garrett, Stephen Amell, who works with Lincoln City's reigning drug lord, Marcus Sutcliffe. Garrett helps Connor sharpen his powers in order to execute a series of crimes on behalf of Sutcliffe, while a militarized police unit led by Han from Fast and Furious hunts them down.
If that was one of the most cliched summaries of a movie I've ever heard.
Like, if I'm reading this, I'm like, ugh, I've seen this 1,000 times, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like if it's not for Robbie and Steven and Han, who is Sung Kang, but he's Han. I'm probably not checking this out. And to be honest, if it wasn't the fact that they funded this on an Indiegogo, I'm probably not checking this out.
I remember watching the short a while, when in 2016, I think that's when it was.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, I want more of this." It was only maybe like 2, 3, 4 minutes. I can't remember how long. It was very short.
Yeah, they made it for I mean, and on Indiegogo, they only asked for $200,000 to make it a feature, but it closed at nearly $3.5 million at the end of 2019. So yeah, it's okay. So this movie starts slow. Let's just,
it does.
But I think it's deliberate the way they start this. I found it interesting that all the people who had powers that were day laborers were all so good looking, right? There wasn't like a fat guy or, like someone really down on their luck. They were
See Robert Pattinson, they worked out.
Well, maybe it's because their superpowers made them that way. Did you ever think of that?
Yeah, burns calories. That's true.
Super powering things burns calories for sure. But I will say, once it gets going, it gets going. And it doesn't really get going until essentially Steven rolls up in a windowless van and is like, "Hey, little boy, do you want some candy?" And Robbie Amell, not understanding the term of stranger danger, or Connor, gets in the van with him.
Okay, so my biggest problems were the start of the movie. I did like how they kind of gave us that almost, the manufacturing revolution type history of Lincoln City and the importance powered folks
Had.
and again, it's just kind of weird. They didn't have a specific. They just said powered or whatever.
I think they relied on people having watched the short, which I think.
Yeah,
was a mistake.
well, I mean, just even for the movie, just to expand upon that.
Yeah. I'm saying for the beginning of the movie, I think they relied on people having gone and watched the short first,
mm-hmm.
and then watching the movie. Which, I didn't know there was a short until you told me after I bought the movie. So yeah, I think that's why the beginning feels kind of disjointed.
Yeah, and again, it hits on the cliches of this group of segment of people are being beaten up and
the downtrodden,
looked down upon, then spit upon, and they take that a little too far in the sense of like some of the characters are caricatures. One of the biggest ones was Agent Davis, which was Agent Park's partner.
Yeah, who was horrible and should have died.
Yeah, he is. So they're some of these characters are very basic and cookie cutter. That was my biggest problem with it.
Well, I think Davis is one note. I think Sutcliffe is one note.
Absolutely.
I think the healer girl is one note.
And Park had a very interesting side story with his daughter that they never it doesn't go anywhere.
Well, it should have been introduced earlier in the movie.
Yes, exactly.
And because he makes a deal with Connor, and you have no idea why. It's like, why are you making this deal? Just arrest his electrical ass and throw him in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't. And so yeah, it was really interesting. I like this movie a lot. I really do. Even though it starts super slow, I think there's a lot of really good unknown Canadian actors in this movie, who do fine work. I think the look of this movie is great. I love the idea of the Guardians, the automatronic police that show up. I love the way on a really small budget they used and showed powers.
Right. I thought they did a great job of, because to your point, the budget. What was the budget?
It didn't.
Do you have
say.
that with you on you?
No, it may the box. I have the box office. I didn't see the budget anywhere.
But we know it was a small budget, so that's the funny thing is I've seen movies with less convincing effects than this one with a much bigger budget.
Like either of the third version of the X-Men movies or the two versions of the quote unquote Phoenix Saga that we got.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, those were 150 million plus movies that looked like garbage.
Or another movie, Black Panther, with the fight scene at the end with.
Well, I mean, it's not even the fight scene at the end. That's got the scene with M'Baku and T'Challa with the Tecmo Bowl audience in the mountains there.
So yeah, I did like how, and I wanted.
And that movie was nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, I want to know more about this. This world, and that's the best thing they did, despite telling a compelling story with Robbie Amell, with Stephen Amell, with Garrett, and with their characters. It made me want to know more about this world.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so much more, because you have this boogeyman in the background called the Trust that we know nothing about. We just know that it's kind of like Marcus owes them money, and they're kind of like that the overlord to the gangsters. I'm assuming you have that.
Yeah, they're like the council of elders or something like that, who you have to kick up to them, and Garrett and Marcus owe them a lot of money for bad deals, and because the drug psych, which I think is one of the cooler parts of the movie, is the biggest drug on the street is spinal fluid from Supers.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, this reminds me a lot of like The Incredibles, just much darker.
Yeah, and it has elements of X3 in it, because remember they were getting the cure for mutants was
Yeah,
from Leech, I think it was.
something like that. Yeah.
But it like just I want to know more about this world because you have Lincoln City, you have the soups here. I'm going to start calling them soups. You have the soups here, like just being thrown in the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
How is it around the world though, or how is it in other cities? Because I would have to, and again, I don't know if the trust are soups that have gotten to that level. Kind of like this secret society or underground, or I don't know. That's again one of the reasons I want to know more.
Yeah,
and I
because
think
how are they controlling all of these supers? I mean, it can't just be they're humans because, you had a girl who could walk up and just melt your throat with her hand.
Right. You have a guy that can take bullets. Well, I mean, he may not take a pencil to the eye.
Hey,
but
if John Wick and the Joker proved anything, a pencil is the deadliest weapon on the planet. And you can make it disappear as a magic trick.
So I just want to know. I want to know more about this world.
Yeah, I think that was like kind of the big disconnect, right? Is they showed us this lived-in world, but then pretended like it was fresh and new,
right?
And didn't give enough of the context. And there's a short form spinoff coming up on Quibi.
Quibi, yes.
Which did you do the free three month trial?
No.
Oh, it's down to like 14 days now, but I did it, and there's a really funny show called Dummy with Anna Kendrick and Donald Loge, where Donald Loge is Dan Harmon, and Anna Kendrick plays his real life girlfriend Cody, and she found a sex doll in Dan Harmon's house. And it's about that. It's really quite funny. It's well worth watching. But I'll be interested to see how this does on Quibi. The big problem with Quibi is you can only watch it on your phone. And you can't sit there and watch it on TV or on your computer. So
I guess you could cast it, or can you?
I haven't tried. I mean, I could probably look, but I think spending this off on Quibi is stupid. This should have gone on something like Netflix, or I think Hulu is the perfect place for this. I think this is something like Disney could pick up as a series, and throw on as a Hulu original. Yeah, and you don't have to have Robbie and Steven in the show at all to make it compelling and interesting. I think like Runaways is a compelling and interesting show. I think the first half of the first season of The Gifted was an interesting and compelling show. And this is very much in the vein of those two shows.
Right. It would be a perfect one to Cloak and Dagger was a similar. It would be because those shows have ended. That's like you said, that would be perfect to move into that spot. So, I agree with as far as Quibi, because Quibi is what 10 minute bites.
Yeah,
that's
something
what they call
like
it.
that. I mean, they're
it's
just short.
A show like this, it's not conducive to that type of format.
No, I mean, we're gonna see heists. That's all we're gonna see. And it's like, great, we got the Heat version of this world. Let's see more. Let's see the supers who are doing good things. Let's see the supers who are doing good and still being persecuted. Let's see the supers who are like in Freaks, hiding their powers and using their powers to alter reality just to protect themselves, if not for anything else.
And this is the thing about, and one of the misses, they frame it as like, and this is and again, it might be my own bias, but I refuse to believe someone in a world that every single person that's a soup, that everyone's going to look at them all the same. That's just right. That's not what you don't do that with race. You don't do that with gender. It's somebody, and not necessarily from the goodness of their hearts either. It doesn't have to be that. It could be like, hey, you can make me millions and millions of dollars for shooting a basketball or hitting home runs or throwing a football. Hey, you have these powers. You can make me a lot of money doing X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, superhero fight club.
Yeah, so that's another part of this world I want to see, not just kind of that cliched, we're this second class citizen type thing.
Do you feel like this was kind of an overcorrection for Arrow with Steven, the way he approached this in this story? because I mean he and Robbie were very much involved with the production. They were the executive producers. Jeff Chan is a close friend of theirs. Jeff Chan came up with the story. Do you feel like this was some sort of a, like I said, like overcorrection for some of the way the superheroes were treated on in the Arrowverse or the Flareoverse or whatever you want to call it?
I don't.
Is it just they're not that creative and they did the best they could and gave us something interesting to watch? It's a different take on what we've seen before, yet still riddled with cliche.
Well, I will look at it this way. I don't think it's not that they weren't that creative. I think this is something that this is a first time thing for them to do something where they're kind of wholly owning it. So I think they're going to learn from their mistakes and learn from, some of the things they did.
Yeah.
The important thing for me is that they made a compelling narrative as far as overall.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like that, especially the last couple seasons of Arrow. And that's where, and I think this is where you're coming from, because I know Steven has said on multiple occasions that some of his regrets are not sticking up for the character.
Yeah.
Oliver Queen's character, which I like season 8, don't get me wrong, but like the seasons before that, there were like 3 straight seasons where it was just it just got, to me, it got bad.
Yeah. Oh, Arrow was a really bad show for a long time.
Yeah, and that was after coming off of seasons like season 2 was again still the best season of Arrow.
Oh yeah.
Season 3 was pretty good, and then that's when season 4. That's when it started hitting that. And I think that's when he was getting a little dissatisfied. And so I don't think it was an overcorrection. I think it was more along the lines of when you're coming out on your own, basically, no matter how much experience he had with Arrow, he didn't have control of Arrow.
Right.
When you have control of something like this from a creative standpoint, it's a little different. So you're going to make mistakes. And
I think with Arrow, he had input. I think his input was very welcome because of how fan friendly he was and how close to the fans he is.
I honestly didn't get that.
I don't think he didn't have a great,
but not the control he has here.
No.
He had in this. Yeah.
No, I mean he's the executive producer here.
Right. So I think it's more along the lines of, someone getting something big and then just, being a little messy, but having a good foundation. But there are things they need to clean up.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
Because and one of the things I said, when you're reviewing it, it doesn't give us anything we haven't seen before. But it does give us, and again, this goes back to what you were saying about Robbie Amell being so damn likable. Is first of all, without him or without an actor like him, this is just a forgettable movie. And without the connection, and again, I know that Stephen Amell plays pretty much Oliver Queen, but just just the vigilante version of Oliver Queen.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
But they have a good chemistry together, and although everybody else around them except Agent Park are Robbie Amell's relationship with his mother too. That's another big part of it, even though it seems like she's not in it that much.
So yeah, no, you're right, and she's not. I mean, but she's really important, and he makes like his sole focus is to protect his mom, which is great, and that's what that. It's established really early on that's what that character's motivation is. But then when he sees what's happening to Naya, or Maddie, was it Maddie? Which one? I forget which one it was. The healer, and he makes the right choice and lets her go. Spoilers.
And one thing I did like about that scene though is how at first, I mean, again, you kind of knew what he was going to do, but.
Did you
at the same time
know? I mean, like
I wasn't
up until that point, like everything he'd done had been in service of helping his mom. And I didn't think for a second he was going to choose essentially a stranger over him or over her.
And it wasn't because, and I think, and then this is the interesting thing. It wasn't because it was out of the goodness of his heart, I don't think, but I think it was more along the lines of what would my mother think of me if I saved her but cost someone else her life.
Yeah.
And that through that prism, that's why it was so agonizing. And I just love the cuts watching Maddie try to heal his mother, and then cut back to Connor and just that pain on his face, finally coming to that decision saying, what would my mom think if I did this?
Right. No, you're right. So it's really interesting. It's definitely a good show. We definitely need more. Or a good movie. We definitely need more. I think we need more than what Quibi has to offer after watching this and reading about the spinoff. I definitely spent some time on Quibi to check it out. And yeah, it's just okay. Let's see what you can do. Can you tell a good enough story in 7 minutes?
Right.
So, yeah. So I think 6.5, 7 out of 10 is kind of where I would put this one.
Yeah, I actually had it as a 7.
Okay.
Yeah, that was,
which to me is still a good score. I mean, when you get down to like 4, that's when I'm not liking something.
I guess it depends on how you're looking at it, because if I'm rating a movie from trying to be objective, I can rate a movie a 3 or a 4, but love the hell out of it.
Right.
Tango and Cash, for example, it's a terribly acted movie, not a good movie, but I love that freaking movie.
Oh yeah, The One with Jet Li and Jason Statham.
Yeah,
it's a horrible movie because it was
No, what's horrible about that is Jason Statham's hair in that movie.
Well, because he has hair.
Yeah.
Like the premise of that movie, the cast of that movie, great. The execution of that movie, piss poor. It
was supposed to be for The Rock, remember?
Yeah. Oh, was it?
Yeah, and then he did Scorpion King instead, so they had to rewrite it, taking in the philosophies of Jet Li and his martial arts philosophy.
I don't think that would have been a good movie with The Rock. All right, I don't like. Well, one The Rock at that time was obviously a really bad actor. Not that he's much better, but like The Rock playing The Rock in that movie I would have walked out.
Yeah, and that's what he would have been doing back then.
So, anyway,
now. Like now, I would pay to see that movie, but back then, I think that would have been a hot mess.
Yeah. All right. So the title of this episode is "One Amell to Rule Them All," and I've been spouting this hot take to anyone who will listen for years about Robbie being the superior Amell, and it has nothing to do with box offices or shows or things like that. It's just I think he's the more versatile actor.
Mm-hmm.
He did. Hold on, real quick. He was in an episode of How I Met Your Mother where he was Robin Scherbatsky's dog, essentially. He was her super young boyfriend who just kind of did whatever she told him to do, and she trained him to act right. To being, in the Tomorrow People, to being a completely different character in The Sitter, to being a completely different character here, to what we see in Upload, where it's like. Steven is always kind of the really handsome dumb guy who kind of falls ass backwards into situations.
Yeah, and this is the thing. A lot of times when you talk about someone being better at this than someone else, you automatically, a lot of people look at that as denigrating the other person. That's not what we're saying. Again, I like Stephen Amell.
Oh yeah,
and he's absolutely improved his acting.
Yep. From
season 1 of Arrow to season 8. There's no contest, no question. He's much better actor.
I think the best comparison for him is Tom Welling.
Yeah, that's actually a good one.
Because Tom Welling had 3 looks that he could give in the first 2 seasons of Smallville. 3, to the point where he turned into now I think Tom Welling's a pretty nice actor. And I'll agree with you 100%. I think Steven has come such a long way. I think he's done some really cool things that helped him. I think the getting involved with Cody Rhodes and some of the wrestling stuff that he did helped him kind of loosen up and take things less seriously.
Yes,
and
100%.
But at the same time, I think Steven is a brilliant guy, and I feel like at some point he's going to start directing a lot. I think we have a feature film that's going to come out of him, written and directed. I think he's very creative, but when it comes to like acting chops, I'm all in on watching anything with Robbie in it. Like I think he gives great performances. He's really likable, but at the same time he can play someone who you actively root against. And he does conflicted so well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he does. Which, by the way, I didn't know that The Babysitter 2 is in post-production.
Oh, is it? Is he in that?
Yeah, it's on his IMDb card.
Oh, interesting. Because he didn't survive the first one. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think I just, like I said, I like to joke around and I like to give people a hard time about this. But yeah, no, I think he's the one who can do more. And
right.
Nothing against Steven. Steven is great, and I think Steven is probably Robbie's biggest fan. And so yeah, but I like seeing them in things together.
Yeah, I did like that kind of, that Amell power.
Yeah. Like I want to see a buddy cop movie with the two of them. Like kind of like The Other Guys.
See, that's something I would absolutely go to see something like that.
Or like your Tango and Cash, as an example. Or, like not like Lethal Weapon or anything like that, because like I don't want to see a straight-laced Robbie Amell and a Martin Riggs version of Steven. But yeah, I think they have like a really cool buddy cop, or like an on the road like business travelers who are frenemies type of a thing.
Right.
Like they both do comedy so well that I think Steven's really underrated for his comedy. That it would be really interesting to see them do that and branch out of the superhero stuff, kind of like Robbie has been, and Steven will in the future. I mean, Steven's probably got to take like a year and a half away before he comes back and does something outside of
he's
Arrow.
doing a lot with his Knocking Point.
Yeah.
He has a winery, and so he's doing, because I follow him on social media, so he does a lot.
Oh yeah, he does. He did the little bit of the bubbly. I think he's got some AEW stuff in the cards once things open back up. So yeah.
Oh yeah, he's also going to be in this show called Heels.
Oh,
that's this wrestling show.
Okay, I did not know about that one.
Yeah, I forgot about this. Small two brothers and rivals, one a villain or heel in the ring, the other a face, war over their late father's wrestling promotion, vying for national attention in small town Georgia.
Okay, it'll be on Stars. 8-episode drama from Lionsgate. Interesting.
Oh, my boy's in it too.
Alexander Ludwig.
Yeah.
So, who if they recast Buffy, perfect guy to play Angel.
Yeah. Man, he's so good as Bjorn though in Vikings.
Yeah. So I actually restarted season 5 last night of Vikings, by the way.
Oh, man.
So yeah.
I forgot how much I loved that show.
I kind of want to go back and just start over because it's been so long since I watched.
Yeah, I know, me too.
But I really just want to go back and watch that first Blood Eagle.
So yeah, but I to your point, I think they're like Robbie and Steven have the potential to do some good things.
Yep. The future is bright for both of them. So
yes. So, but yeah, I enjoy Code 8. Take a gander at it, because again, it's not one of those 2-hour movies. It's a little bit over an hour and a half. That's one of the things I thought it could be.
It's 100 minutes. It's a great running time for this movie. So, okay, so we went through the production, distribution. It's on Netflix. The spinoff series. Yeah. So, I mean, just watch this movie. It's a fun movie. Just go watch it. Go watch Upload. You'll if you're looking for things that you haven't seen, and you may not be into the superhero thing or the metaphysical afterlife questions that Upload brings with it, they're both well worth watching. They don't take themselves too seriously, and they're fun.
Right.
Plain and simple.
So go out there and have some fun with these.
Yep. Cool. All right. So make sure you guys check out our Patreon, patreon.com/InfamousPodcast. Check out our CBS All Access deal going on right now. You get a week free if you go to infamouspodcast.com/CBS. That'll really help the show. And thanks again to our current patron that you guys can join the ranks of Julian Brown. He got a bunch of stickers in the mail the other day. So yeah, if you sign up, look for that swag. Anyway, all right. Anything you want to close out on?
No, nothing else.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next week. Later.
Stay safe.
The Infamous Podcast is recorded in Kings Mills, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati, with new episodes out every Sunday. You can find more information about the show online at infamouspodcast.com or on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as @infamouspodcast. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcatching app. If you're enjoying the show, consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or check out our Patreon at patreon.com/infamouspodcast for our new tiers and rewards. The Infamous Podcast is hosted and produced by me, Brian Tudor, with music provided by Michael Henry from meetmichaelhenry.com. You can find me on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as @BrianTudor. So, whenever you're listening to the show, have a great day, night, evening, weekend, whenever it is, and we'll see you next time. Later.